Adventures in the Fairy Tale Forest. Meet the Good Gnome. In a faraway fairy tale forest, there lived a little girl named Mila. She had always dreamed of seeing a real gnome. One day, going for a walk in the forest, Mila heard a noise and rustling among the bushes. She carefully walked closer and saw a little old man wearing a red hat and a green vest. "Hello, little girl," said the gnome with a smile. "My name is Dwarf." "What's yours?" Mila was very happy about this meeting. She replied, "My name is Mila. I have always dreamed of meeting a gnome." The gnome invited Mila to sit down on the rock next to him and they began to talk. It turned out that the dwarf had been living in this forest for many years and knew all its secrets. He told Mila about the magical plants that grow only here and about the adventures to be found in the forest. Mila decided to spend the whole day together with the dwarf. They explored the forest, found a waterfall, and even saw a group of forest elves dancing among the flowers. As the sun began to set, Mila realized it was time to go home. The gnome gave her a small stone that he said would bring her good luck. Back home, Mila was happy and told her family about her amazing encounter. She placed the stone on her bedside table and fell asleep smiling in her dreams. Thus began Mila's adventures in the fairy forest, and each new episode will tell of her amazing adventures with new friends and the mysterious creatures of this magical place. The mysterious key to the treasures of the forest. After meeting the dwarf, Mila began to frequent the fairy forest. One day, she heard a faint singing coming from the dense thickets. She decided to investigate the source of the sound and found a small door that looked like the entrance to a gnome's house. Mila looked inside and saw a room stacked with mysterious objects. Among them was a key with a golden handle that had strange symbols carved into it. Mila was sure that this key meant something. The gnome, who was always ready to help Mila, told her about the legend connected with the key. It was said that it opened the door to the treasures of the forest, but to find the treasure, one must go through a series of trials. Mila decided to try her luck. She grabbed the key and opened the door. A mysterious labyrinth opened before her. Mila began her journey, solving puzzles and overcoming obstacles. Suddenly, she found herself in front of a magnificent garden with bright colors and majestic trees. There was something special about this garden. Mila realized that this was the treasure of the forest, its beauty and uniqueness. With pride, she went back to the dwarf and told him about her adventure. The dwarf smiled and said, "You have realized, Mila, that the real treasure is the beauty of nature, which must be cherished and protected." Mila put the key back into the gnome's house. Knowing that the real treasure was already in her heart. Her adventures in the fairy forest continued, and she realized that not only magic could be found in this forest, but also important life lessons. On the trail of the mysterious beast, one day Mila and Gnomik heard strange sounds in the forest that sounded like growling. They decided to find out what those sounds were, and the footprints they saw on the ground indicated the presence of some mysterious beast. Following the tracks, Mila and Dwarf came deep into the forest where they encountered a huge and friendly leopard with bright purple fur. The animal was injured and needed help. Mila and Gnomik nursed the leopard, named him Siren, and helped him recover. Siren turned out to be a kind and loyal friend. He told them about his lost family and asked for help in finding them. Together, Mila, Gnomik and Siren set off on a dangerous journey through the forest, where they had to overcome many difficulties. They got into a slumbering bamboo forest where every bamboo looked the same, and they had to use their cleverness to find their way out. Then they got into a field with many flowers of different shapes and sizes. It turned out that each flower had its own unique magical power. With Siren's help, Mila found a flower that helped her overcome the next challenge. Finally, they reached a deep cave where Siren's family lived. The meeting was touching, and Siren was happy to be reunited with his family. Siren thanked Mila and Gnomik for the help and friendship they had given him. Before he left, he promised to return to the fairy forest to explore further with Mila and Gnomik. Back home, Mila and Gnomik realized that true friendship and mutual help can solve even the most difficult problems. Their adventures in the fairy forest continued, and each day brought new amazing discoveries and adventures. The mystery of the forgotten treasures. One day Mila and the dwarf heard rumors of mysterious treasures hidden in the depths of the fairy forest. They said that to find them they needed to find 3 magic keys hidden in 3 different corners of the forest. Deciding to go on a treasure hunt, Mila and the dwarf began their journey. Their first stop was at the Lake of Starlight, where they found the first key. It glittered like a star and emitted a soft light. Then they traveled to the mysterious mushroom forest, which was home to giant mushrooms and strange creatures. In this forest, they overcame many challenges and found the second key, which was made from a magical mushroom. The third key they looked for was at the Crystal Tears waterfall. This waterfall was amazingly beautiful, but waterfalls could be dangerous. Mila and Dwarf bravely approached the waterfall and found the third key, which shone like drops of water and gave them strength. After collecting all 3 keys, Mila and the dwarf returned to the place where they had talked about the treasure. They used the keys to open a mysterious door and found themselves in a treasure room full of gems and magical artifacts. But when they took one of the treasures, something amazing happened. The treasure turned out to be alive and started talking to them. It told them that the treasure carried magic and wisdom and that it should not be taken away from the forest. Mila and Gnomik decided to listen to the treasure's advice and left it in the forest. But now they knew that the real treasures were the wisdom and friendship they had gained on their adventures. With each new day, Mila and the dwarf learned more about the fairy forest and themselves. Their adventures continued, and they prepared for the new mysteries and discoveries the future would bring. The mystery of the Forgotten Kingdom. One beautiful evening, Mila and Gnomik were relaxing by the fire and sharing stories about their adventures when they heard a legend about a mysterious place in the fairy tale forest, the Forgotten Kingdom. It was said that this place had been lost for centuries and no one knew how to get there. Determined to explore this mysterious place, Mila and Gnomik began to explore the forest in search of clues. They collected ancient maps and solved old riddles that led them to a forgotten trail. After traveling through the dense forest and past waterfalls and cliffs, they finally found themselves in front of the entrance to the Forgotten Kingdom. It was just as beautiful here as other parts of the forest, but with a special magic. Inside, they found the ruins of an ancient castle that had once been the home of the kingdom. They explored the abandoned rooms and corridors and found ancient books and treasures that told of the kingdom's past. But the most amazing thing they discovered was in the heart of the castle. There they met an ancient forest spirit who told them about the history of the kingdom and how it had disappeared because of the hatred and selfishness of the rulers. The forest spirit asked Mila and Gnomik to help restore the ancient castle and recreate the kingdom, but with new, wise rulers. They agreed to the task and began to gather friends and forest dwellers to help them in this great enterprise. Each day Mila and the dwarf grew closer to bringing the Forgotten Kingdom back to life and restoring its greatness. Their adventures in the fairy forest became not only exciting, but also beneficial to the entire forest world. Saving the magical fireflies. On a summer evening when Mila and Gnomik were walking through the forest, they noticed that the fireflies that usually lit up the night sky had disappeared. Fireflies were an important part of the magic of the forest, and their disappearance worried the friends. Mila and Gnomik decided to solve this mystery. They began to look for signs of fireflies and turned to the Owl of Wisdom for advice. The owl told them about an ancient ritual that could bring back the fireflies. The ritual involved finding 4 magic stones hidden in 4 different parts of the forest. Mila and Gnomik set out on their search, meeting various adventures and challenges along the way. They found the first stone in an old temple, where they met an ancient priest who helped them solve the first riddle. The second stone was in the cave of a mountain eagle, who asked them to sing a song for him to get the stone. They found the third stone on the shore of the magic lake, where they had to solve a puzzle of water spirits. The last stone, the most powerful, they found inside the tree of eternal life, where they met the guardian of the tree, who tested their purity of heart. He gave them the stone and told them that the fireflies would return when they placed it in the center of the forest and spoke the ancient words. Mila and the dwarf returned to the center of the forest, set the stone down, and said the magic words. Suddenly, thousands of fireflies began to glow in the sky, creating a magical sight. The forest came alive and was filled with magic. The fireflies were saved, and Mila and the dwarf realized that the magic of the forest depended on them and everyone who protected and cared for it. Their adventures continued, and they were ready for the new challenges the fairy forest would bring them. Saving the lost star. One night, Mila and Dwarf noticed that one of the bright stars they always saw in the sky was missing. It had disappeared. This star served as a landmark for many of the forest's inhabitants and was a symbol of hope and light. Determined to solve this mystery, Mila and Gnomik set off on a night journey through the forest, following the place where it had disappeared. They walked through dark wilds and entered the deepest parts of the forest, where the magic was especially strong. Along the way, they met a family of bats who told them that they had seen the star begin to fade and fall from the sky. Mila and Gnomik decided to follow this clue and made their way to the place where the star had fallen. There, on the ground, they found a small, shiny star that had lost its light. It told them that it had lost its way and could not return to the sky. Mila and Gnomik decided to help the star. They built a special rocket made of magic wood to send it back to the sky. After gathering the magic ingredients, they lit the rocket and the star slowly rose into the sky, returning to its place. When the star returned to the sky, the whole forest was illuminated by its light. The people of the forest were happy and thanked Mila and Gnomik for their good deeds and saving the star. Mila and Gnomik realized that hope and light are always with them, and that they can overcome any difficulty if they work together. Their adventures continued, and they were ready for the new challenges that the fairy forest would bring them. The mysterious lost book. One day, Mila and Gnomik went for a walk in the forest and accidentally came across an ancient book hidden under thick bushes. It was a book with ancient symbols and mysterious stories they had never seen before. Mila and Gnomik began to explore the book and discovered that it told of ancient legends and magical creatures that once lived in the fairy forest. However, the book was incomplete and some pages were missing. Determined to learn more about the forest's past, Mila and Gnomik set out to find the lost pages. They explored the forest up and down, following the clues they found in the book. The first lost page was found in a deep cave where they met an ancient stone dragon that was guarding the page. They were able to convince the dragon that their intentions were good and he provided them with the page. They had to find the second page at the top of a high mountain where a wise mountain troll dwelt. The troll gave them a riddle and they were able to solve it, earning them a page. They found the third page in an old ruin where a ghostly fairy who had lost her home library lived. Mila and Gnomik helped her find her books, and the fairy thanked them with a page. Back home, Mila and Gnomik put the lost pages back into the book. They learned more about the forest's past and its magical creatures, as well as how to keep balance and harmony in the forest. In this way, they realized that knowledge and respect for the past helped them to take better care of the future of the fairy forest. Their adventures continued, and they prepared for the new mysteries and discoveries that the future would bring. The mystery of the mysterious underground. One sunny day, Mila and Gnomik heard a melodious singing coming from underground. They decided to investigate this mysterious phenomenon and set out to find the entrance to the dungeons of the fairy forest. Following the sounds, Mila and Gnomik discovered a hidden entrance to the dungeons that led down through dark grottos and narrow tunnels below. They found themselves in a vast underground world full of mysterious creatures and ancient structures. As they traveled through the dungeons, they met a diamond mole who told them of a magical source of light that kept the dungeons alive. But recently this source had begun to fade, and a riddle had to be solved to bring back its light. Exploring the underground passages, Mila and Gnomik found mysterious columns with ancient symbols on them. They realized that they needed to connect these symbols to activate the magical source. With knowledge and patience, they were able to connect the symbols and restore the light of the dungeons. This caused the underworld to come to life, and its inhabitants expressed their gratitude to Mila and the dwarf. After completing their underground adventure, Mila and the Gnomik returned to the surface, knowing that it was important to take care not only of the upper world, but also of the mysterious dungeons that held treasures and riddles. Their adventures in the fairy forest continued, and they prepared for new exciting discoveries. Ending and new beginnings, Mila and the dwarf have lived an incredible adventure in the fairy forest, but now it's time to complete their journey and return home. They have learned that friendship and adventure are important, but it is also important to take care of their world and responsibilities. As they said goodbye to their friends in the forest, Mila and Dwarf promised to come back whenever they needed help or an adventure. They left their mark on their hearts and said that friendship and adventure always awaits them in this magical place. When they returned home, Mila and Gnomik decided to share their adventures with the world. They began writing books about their adventures and illustrating them so that others could share in the joy and lessons they had learned. Mila and Gnomik's books became popular around the world, and they became famous authors and explorers. They dedicated their lives to spreading knowledge and wisdom about nature, friendship, and adventure. Eventually, Mila and Gnomik realized that adventures never end, they just morph into new forms. Their journeys continued in the world of knowledge and words, and they were happy to be able to give their experiences to others. Thus ended their story full of adventure, friendship, and wisdom, and began a new chapter of their lives where they continued to share their adventures with the world and inspire other explorers.